Welcome back to the channel USD Coins, Coin Collectors, Treasure Hunters, and History Buffs. You're in for a treat today, because we're diving into one of the most captivating and mysterious stories in the world of numismatics, a story that has gripped the imagination of collectors and sparked curiosity among everyday Americans. We're talking about the 1974 Liberty Quarter Dollar, a coin that many would overlook in their pocket change, but in an extraordinary twist, has gained attention for possibly being worth up to $6.5 million. Yes, you heard that right, $6.5 million for a coin most of us wouldn't think twice about. But what makes this coin so valuable? What kind of errors or anomalies could turn a simple 25-cent piece into a millionaire's artifact? Stick around, because this is a tale that goes deep into the minting process, history, speculation, and collector frenzy surrounding the elusive 1974 quarter. Before we begin unraveling this fascinating numismatic mystery, let's set the stage. The United States quarter dollar is one of the most widely circulated coins in the country. It features the familiar image of George Washington on the obverse, the front of the coin, and an eagle on the reverse for the classic design era that spanned decades. These coins are used every day, passed hand to hand, spent in vending machines, and dropped into piggy banks. They're so common that it's easy to forget that each and every one is a miniature work of art, struck with precision and handled with care, or at least, that's the intention. But once in a while, something goes wrong. A misprint, a misalignment, the wrong metal, or a minting error can create a coin so rare and so unique that it becomes the stuff of legend. That brings us back to the 1974 quarter. Officially, there's nothing out of the ordinary about this coin. It was minted in Philadelphia and Denver, and the standard quarter that year was composed of a clad mixture of copper and nickel. But the story doesn't stop there. Among collectors, rumors and documented instances of error coins from this year have surfaced, some of which point to potentially rare minting anomalies. These are the kinds of mistakes that can make a coin astronomically valuable, and some numismatists believe that one particular 1974 quarter could be worth as much as $6.50 million. Now, let's delve into the nitty-gritty of what makes a coin like this so incredibly valuable. When we talk about minting errors, we're usually referring to a variety of issues that can occur during the coin's production process. These can include off-center strikes, double dies, wrong planchet errors, die clashes, clipped planchets, and more. Each of these errors affects the coin differently, and their rarity depends on how often the mistake occurs and how many of the error coins make it out of the mint into circulation. In the case of the 1974 quarter, several types of possible errors and mysteries have surfaced that could explain its sudden rise in value. One theory is that a very small number of 1,974 quarters were struck on silver planchets. By 1971, the U.S. Mint had stopped producing silver quarters for general circulation. They switched to a copper-nickel clad composition instead. However, it is believed that leftover silver planchets from earlier years may have still been floating around the mint. If one or two of these silver planchets made their way into the 1974 minting batch, a coin struck on such a blank would be extraordinarily rare. These would appear different under close inspection. They'd weigh more than regular clad quarters and may even have a different ring or luster to them. Collectors go wild for such anomalies, especially if only a handful exist. Another intriguing possibility involves a double die error. A double die occurs when the coin die itself has a duplication in the design, typically caused during the hubbing process when the die receives more than one impression from the hub in slightly misaligned positions. This results in certain design elements appearing doubled on the coin. On a 1974 quarter, you would want to examine the inscriptions like "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date, 1974, for any signs of doubling. If confirmed, a double die from this year would be extremely desirable among collectors, especially if it's in uncirculated or mint condition. Then there's the issue of off-metal strikes. These errors occur when a coin is struck on a planchet meant for another denomination. For example, there have been instances of quarters struck on nickel or dime planchets, or even foreign planchets intended for coins of another country. An off-metal 1974 quarter would certainly raise eyebrows and fetch a high price at auction. It's difficult for these errors to occur, especially with the tight quality control the US Mint tries to maintain, but no system is perfect, and sometimes these oddities slip through the cracks that we also can't ignore the concept of transitional errors. These happen when a coin is struck with an old or incorrect die. While this is more famously associated with the 1943 copper penny or the 1965 silver quarter, it's still possible that such an error occurred in 1974 under unique circumstances. Perhaps a die intended for a different design was mistakenly used. Maybe a planchet was improperly prepared. Or perhaps something went wrong during the striking process that left behind a dramatically different appearance. And speaking of the striking process, another plausible anomaly could be a brockage error. This occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to a die and is pressed into the next blank, creating a mirrored and distorted impression. Such coins are rare and often command high values depending on the severity and clarity of the error. All these error types, if found on a 1974 quarter, can result in a coin worth thousands or even millions, especially if it's the only one known to exist or if the error is particularly pronounced and visually striking. But what makes the story of the 1974 quarter so compelling is the way its mystique has grown over time. It's not just about what errors are confirmed to exist, but the possibility that there's a rare and valuable specimen still out there, hiding in plain sight. Let's talk about the $6.5 million valuation that has circulated in the coin collecting community. How did this figure come to be? While there's no official record of a 1974 quarter selling for that amount at public auction, stories of high-value private sales have circulated among collectors. These anecdotes suggest that someone may have paid an extraordinary amount for a particularly rare and unique specimen. Whether that coin was struck on a silver planchet, bore an unprecedented error, or was part of a previously unknown minting anomaly remains unknown. But the belief persists, and where belief and rarity meet, values skyrocket. Coin collectors are always on the hunt for the next big find. Stories of common coins with hidden secrets have fueled treasure hunts across the country. People comb through their change, examine every detail under magnification, and send coins for certification and grading in hopes of discovering a life-changing rarity. The 1974 quarter has become one of these coveted targets. Because millions were made and put into circulation, the idea that a valuable variant might be sitting in someone's collection or jar of coins keeps the excitement alive. There's also the question of mint marks. In 1974, quarters were minted in Philadelphia and Denver, with coins from Denver bearing a small D mint mark on the obverse next to Washington's ponytail. Coins from Philadelphia that year carried no mint mark. If a coin from that year were found with an S mint mark, it would be highly unusual. San Francisco primarily struck proof coins during this period, and a 1974 S quarter in circulation would raise serious questions about its origin and authenticity. If such a coin exists, it might have been an accidental release or a one-off anomaly that slipped through the mint's tight controls. Adding to the mystery are reports of unusually struck 1974 quarters with mismatched layers, improper lamination, or planchets that exhibit odd toning, edge patterns, or colorations. All of these characteristics can hint at unique production errors, and while not all such errors are valuable, some can be worth significant sums, especially if certified by a grading service such as PCGS or NGC, and that brings us to another crucial point: certification. For a coin like a 1974 quarter to achieve a value of $6.5 million, it would almost certainly have to be authenticated and graded by a professional numismatic organization. Grading agencies use a 70-point scale to assess a coin's condition, from well-worn circulated examples to pristine mint-state pieces. The higher the grade and the more unique the error, the higher the value. A mint-state 1974 quarter with a dramatic and verified error could fetch astronomical sums at auction or in private sale. It's important to remember that most 1974 quarters are only worth face value. Millions were produced, and without a verified error, the average coin from that year won't fetch more than a few cents over face, even in great condition. But the thrill lies in the possibility. Because of the stories, the rumors, the whispers in collector forums and antique shops, people keep looking. They hold their breath as they examine the lettering, the edges, the thickness, the color. They measure weight, look for signs of doubling, examine die alignment, and seek anything that might suggest a mistake made 50 years ago that slipped past unnoticed. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories in the world of rare and valuable coins, the legendary 1994 D Liberty Quarter Dollar, a coin that, under the right circumstances, could be worth as much as $3.5 million due to its rare and astonishing minting errors. So, whether you're a seasoned coin collector, a curious enthusiast, or someone who just happened to find an old coin in their drawer, stay tuned because this is a story that could change the way you look at the coins in your wallet forever. Let's start by stepping back in time to 1994. The U.S. Mint, as always, was busy producing billions of coins for circulation. Among these was the Washington Quarter, which has been in regular circulation since 1932. In 1994, the quarters struck bore the familiar obverse of George Washington facing left, with the inscriptions, Liberty above, In God We Trust, to the left, and the date, 1994, below. On the reverse was the traditional eagle clutching arrows and olive branches, with the words, United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and Quarter Dollar. Most 1994 quarters, including those with the D Mint mark indicating they were struck at the Denver Mint, are perfectly ordinary and still circulate today, each worth 25 cents. But not all coins are created equal. In rare cases, due to minting errors, misstrikes, planchet anomalies, and other mistakes during the production process, a few coins become ultra-rare. These coins are prized by collectors and can fetch staggering sums at auction. The 1994 D Liberty Quarter is one such coin, not because of its base metal content, not because it was struck in low numbers, but because of a rare series of minting anomalies that turned what should have been a standard coin into a multi-million-dollar collector's item. Now, you might be wondering, how can a quarter dollar, a coin meant to be worth just 25 cents, end up being valued at over $3.5 million? The answer lies in a complex cocktail of minting errors, rarity, mystery, and collector obsession. First, let's discuss some of the known errors that have been found on some 1994 D quarters. These include double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, partial collar errors, die clashes, and even wrong planchet strikes. Each of these errors individually can make a coin more valuable, sometimes significantly so. But when multiple errors occur on a single coin, the value can skyrocket, and that's exactly what seems to have happened with the famous $3.5 million 1994 D Liberty Quarter. One of the most discussed examples is a 1994 D quarter that exhibits a rare combination of a double die obverse and reverse, a dramatic off-center strike, and striking on a wrong planchet. What does that mean? Let's break it down. A double die occurs when the die, the device used to strike the design into the blank coin, is imprinted twice with a slight misalignment. This causes elements of the design, such as the date, lettering, or facial features, to appear doubled. On this particular coin, the word Liberty appears doubled, as does the date, 1994. The doubling is so clear that it's visible to the naked eye, something that significantly enhances its value. Then there's the off-center strike. Most coins are struck right in the center of the planchet, but occasionally, the planchet, the blank piece of metal that becomes a coin, is not seated correctly in the striking chamber. This causes the design to be imprinted off-center. A minor off-center error might not be very valuable, but in the case of the $3.5 million coin, the off-center strike is dramatic, nearly 20% off, and it reveals part of the blank surface, which gives the coin a distinctive look and adds to its uniqueness. Next comes the wrong planchet error. This occurs when a coin is struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination or even a foreign coin. For example, a quarter might be struck on a planchet meant for a dime or a nickel. This not only changes the weight and metal composition of the coin but can also result in portions of the design missing or appearing distorted. It is believed that the ultra-rare 1994 D quarter was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin, possibly one used for a U.S. territory or for export purposes, something that makes the coin incredibly rare. Another critical factor contributing to the coin's astronomical value is the presence of a die clash. A die clash happens when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between them, leaving ghostly impressions of the design on each die. When coins are subsequently struck, these impressions appear as ghost images in areas where they shouldn't be. The coin in question has ghostly outlines of the eagle's wings on the obverse side and traces of Washington's profile on the reverse, an unusual and unmistakable result of a severe die clash. This further elevates the coin's uniqueness and makes it irresistible to serious collectors. Beyond the physical characteristics, another factor that has driven the value of this coin sky high is the mystery surrounding how so many errors could have occurred in a single coin and then made it out of the mint into public circulation. The U.S. Mint has rigorous quality control procedures, especially in the 1990s, when minting technology was highly advanced. So how did such a dramatically flawed coin slip through the cracks? Some speculate that the coin might have been intentionally released, a so-called mint mule, possibly made by a mint employee as a novelty or souvenir. Others believe it was the result of a perfect storm of mistakes, human error, mechanical failure, and lack of oversight, that allowed this coin to pass through undetected. Whatever the reason, the existence of such a coin adds a layer of mystery and intrigue that fuels its legendary status. Adding to its allure is the extreme rarity of this coin. Despite numerous 1994 D quarters being struck, only one known example has been verified to contain all of these errors combined. That makes it a unique specimen, a one-of-one, and in the world of coin collecting, nothing drives value more than uniqueness. When a coin is the only one of its kind, especially one with such dramatic errors, its value becomes almost immeasurable. That's why auction houses, private collectors, and investors alike are willing to pay millions to acquire it, but that's not all. There are persistent rumors in numismatic circles of other similar coins that may be out there, still undiscovered. People have reported finding odd-looking 1994 D quarters that appear to have minor doubling or other anomalies. While none have matched the exact characteristics of the $3.5 million coin, it's possible that others may exist, either sitting in someone's change jar or buried in a forgotten coin collection. This possibility adds yet another layer to the story and fuels a treasure hunt mentality among collectors and enthusiasts. And then there's the psychology of collecting. Rare coins aren't just about metal and design, they're about history, identity, and passion. A coin like the 1994 D Liberty Quarter becomes more than currency. It becomes a symbol, a story, a piece of American history that survived against all odds. For the person who owns it, it's not just about the monetary value, although that's significant, it's about holding something in your hand that no one else has. Something that whispers tales of accidents, secrets, and once-in-a-lifetime luck. That it's also worth considering how the market for rare coins has exploded in recent years. As more investors look to tangible assets, and as the world of alternative investments grows, coins with unique characteristics, especially those with authenticated errors, are being snapped up at record prices. This growing demand has only increased the value of coins like the 1994 D Liberty Quarter. Auction records show a consistent upward trend in prices for error coins, and numismatic experts believe that as more attention is paid to these rarities, their values could rise even further. Let's talk briefly about how to identify whether you might have a valuable 1994 D Liberty Quarter yourself. First, look closely at the coin using a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Check the word Liberty, the motto, "In God We Trust," and the date for signs of doubling. Look at the reverse to see if the eagle's wings appear doubled or if there are ghostly outlines from a die clash. Check if the coin looks oddly shaped or off-center. Compare its weight and diameter to a regular quarter. If it's lighter or heavier, that might indicate a wrong planchet. Finally, look at the mint mark. The D should be crisp and clear, but on error coins, sometimes the mint mark is distorted, misplaced, or doubled itself. Any of these signs could point to an error coin worth examining further. If you think you found something unusual, the next step is to get the coin professionally evaluated. Send it to a reputable grading service such as PCGS or NGC. They have the expertise and equipment to determine whether your coin is authentic and what type of errors it may contain. If your coin is graded as genuine with rare errors, its value could go far beyond face value, perhaps even into 6 or 7 figures.